Hey everyone, you're listening to Ankur Warikoo on Woice with Warikoo. On this podcast, I talk to you about entrepreneurship, how to grow in life, manage personal finances, handle failures, and a lot more things that just come to my mind. The episode begins. So, there are two questions that often get asked in interviews that I genuinely do not like. Number one is this rather dumb question, which is where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Who has the answer to that question? And even if they have an answer to that question, most likely they are lying. Like everyone, I'm sure, believed at the end of 2019 that 2020 will be the year when they will kick ass, when everything that they have projected in their Excel sheets and their fancy business plans and everything that they have planned for their life will come true. But bam! Comes March 2020, at least for India, and that's it. The world's over in some sense. There's just so much that so many of us have gone through in the last 1.5 years, and no one could have predicted that. So it's such a proud question to ask where you almost give yourself more than you deserve. And I don't know why people ask that. But here's the second question which I wanted to focus on today. And that is, what would you do if you knew that this is the last day on earth for you? What would you do if you knew that this is the last day and you're going to die tomorrow? And I don't know why people ask this question. I don't know what they're expecting as a response. Now, I think I know what I think they're expecting. I feel in their heart, they're expecting someone to say, you know what, boss? I will complete the job that you gave me and then die. Of course not. I'm going to quit this crappy job. I'm going to call my parents, apologize for all the shit that I gave them all my life, then call my friends, my family, tell them that I love them, and just wait to die. But here's a question that never gets asked during interviews. How would you go about living life if you knew that you're never going to die? How would you go about living life if you knew that you're never going to die? Now, that sounds like a fictional, hypothetical, science fiction question to ask, but here's my prediction. And whatever day you're listening, just mark that date. And if you're below 25 right now, it is quite likely that you're never going to die. It is quite likely that you're not going to die naturally. You may die because you get hit by a bus or someone shoots you or whatever. Sorry for that, not being dark. But medical advancements will ensure that you don't die naturally. And here's the interesting piece now. What this tells me is that everything that we have come to know about how to live life is wrong. None of what is being taught to you right now of how to live life is applicable anymore if you're going to live a life of 100, 150, 200 years. None. Everything that you're told, which is, oh, you fall in love once and you marry once and you have a college degree and then you start working and then you just work in that for the rest of your life and then you retire and then you spend your life peacefully waiting for you to die. None of that applies anymore. None of that. It's quite likely that you will marry several times. It's quite likely that you will have several careers. It's quite likely that every 10, 20 years, you'll have to completely change yourself into a new person because that's the only way that you can sign up for living a life of 100 plus, 150, whatever years you live. And here's why this is important. Our definition of school and college is quite twisted. Our definition of school and college is that we go to a place where we get a degree, where we study something that we think we should be studying. And then once we're out of that school and college, we spend the rest of our life in just gathering experience and applying whatever it is that we learned. But here's what we miss. The biggest thing that I think school and college should teach us, but it doesn't, unfortunately, is how to learn something new. How do you learn something new? Do you learn something that you have no idea about? How do you learn something in an orchestrated fashion, in a formal fashion, in a disciplined fashion that actually trains you well on this new concept so that you can go out in the real world and apply whatever it is that you've learned? but it doesn't teach us that. What it does is just makes us go through this rote learning process where we open up a textbook, read something that's prescribed to us, give an exam, score something on that, and then are told, hey, you're great, or oh, you suck. And that's it. We are never told what is it to learn something new. And you know what I'm talking about, because when you went to school and college, or perhaps you're still in school and college, you're learning shit that is not going to be applicable in this world. Forget 10 years from now, I'd say 2 years from now. None of what you're going through is going to matter. Robots will take over your place, artificial intelligence will take over your place, someone else will take over your place, or maybe there'll be something completely new replacing whatever is it that you've learned. And yet we go through that, but we don't know what is it to learn something new. So do yourself a favor. If you're in school and college right now, then devote yourself to the art of learning, the skill of learning, the method of learning, and identify how is it that you learn. Do you learn best by reading? Do you learn best by listening? Do you learn best by writing, by watching, by doing? And figure what is your learning style. Figure how is it that you learn and adopt new concepts. Because my friend, that is going to be a super skill for life for the rest of your life. And if you're working right now, if you've already been through school and college, then do yourself a favor and learn something new every 3-6 months. Something new. It could be learning a new musical instrument. It could be learning a new skill. It could be learning something that you know is not necessarily applicable in professional life, but you just want to devote yourself to the art and the joy of learning something new. Because if you don't do that, you're going to get redundant. Someone who does your job faster, better, cheaper will eventually replace you, and most likely those will be machines. So what you have to do is always be ahead of the curve, not think of yourself as, oh, I went to school and college, and now that I'm done with it, I'm done with learning. No, my friend. Your life is not the life of your parents or perhaps even of mine. They just had one job to do, and that is to survive. And they did a commendable job of that, raised all of us well. But we have a completely different problem to solve, and that is how do we have a meaningful life for a really long time? And it's not going to happen by saying, oh, I'm an engineer, I'm a chartered accountant, I'm a lawyer, I'm a historian, I'm a musician, and that's who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. No. It is by changing your identity every 10, 20 years. You're someone today, but after 10 years, when the world's a different place, you should know what it means to be that someone else playing in that field, in that arena, in that industry. And for that, you're not going to go back to a school and college. You're not going to have a curriculum and exams. You will have to do it on your own. And if you don't know that skill, if you do not understand what is it or what it takes to learn something new, you're doomed. You're going to have a really, really hard time, especially if you're going to live forever. And that is what this question should get you thinking. What if you never die? How are you going to go about living life if you knew that you're never going to die? And I can tell you with 100% conviction and certainty, the way that you're living life right now is not going to help. I don't even know you. I have no idea of how you live your life. But I can tell you with 100% conviction that the way that you're living life right now is not going to set you up for living a life that is really, really long. Find out a way to learn something whenever you have to. Find out a way to become a student whenever you have to. To be notified of upcoming episodes, be sure to subscribe and follow the show on this app right now. Also, don't forget to rate and review the show because that just feels nice. Thank you. If you like this podcast episode, then please remember to subscribe to the channel because every week you will be notified.